What if freedom was stolen for generations? Chains binding Rome's captives and America's enslaved forever. Welcome to Epic Animated, where history comes alive. From forgotten empires to hidden truths, join us as we reveal the most shocking stories of the past. In ancient Rome, slavery was not a choice. It was destiny. Men captured in war stood in chains, sold in markets where wealth and cruelty mingled. Imagine the fear in their eyes, the weight of defeat, and the endless uncertainty that came with being reduced to property under the unforgiving gaze of the empire. For some, slavery meant the Colosseum. Gladiators stood in shadowy tunnels, the roar of thousands above. Sweat dripped, hearts pounded, death loomed. These slaves were not only entertainment but symbols of Rome's hunger for power. Each step into the arena was a march between life and death, with no hope of escape. In Roman villas, wealth glittered, but it was built on suffering. Slaves served food and wine invisible in their silence. They washed clothes, raised children, and labored without rest. To the masters, this was luxury. To the enslaved, it was chains disguised by marble walls and golden cups, a life of quiet desperation. The mines of Rome were a death sentence. Slaves worked until their bodies broke, digging in darkness, breathing dust, and choking on despair. Few survived long. Each strike of the pickaxe was not just labor, it was agony. These mines consumed lives like fire consumes wood, leaving behind only shadows of broken men. Yet even in Rome, resistance rose. Spartacus, once a gladiator, became a symbol of defiance. His revolt shook the empire, fire and fury against centuries of oppression. Though crushed, his rebellion proved that even in chains, men could rise against tyranny. The dream of freedom burned brighter than the swords that struck him down. Some Roman slaves tasted freedom through manumission. They became freedmen, walking streets once forbidden. Yet the mark of slavery never vanished. Scars remained, whispers followed. They were free in name, but society remembered. Their lives reflected the strange duality of Rome, a place where liberty and bondage lived side by side in fragile tension. Centuries later, across an ocean, another slavery thrived. Africans, torn from their homes, shackled in chains, endured the hell of slave ships. In the darkness, packed so tightly they could barely breathe, disease and despair claimed thousands. This was the Middle Passage, where human lives became cargo and hope was swallowed by waves. The voyage was endless, the ocean merciless. In the holds of slave ships, Africans suffered in silence. Their cries echoed through wooden beams, their humanity erased by greed. Each wave carried more sorrow. For many, the journey ended in death. For others, it marked the beginning of an even darker chapter of bondage. On American plantations, dawn brought no promise, only suffering. Men and women bent under the sun, hands torn by cotton thorns, backs scarred by whips. Overseers barked commands, their cruelty enforcing obedience. The field stretched endlessly, a prison without walls. Yet through exhaustion and pain, the enslaved endured, their spirit refusing to die. Inside cabins, families sought comfort in love. Rough wooden walls could not shield them from hunger or cold, but mothers sang lullabies of hope and fathers whispered dreams of freedom. Children, born into chains, found joy in laughter. In these humble shelters, humanity survived where cruelty tried to erase it. Love became rebellion. In history class, we learned that the Industrial Revolution changed the way people worked and lived. It introduced new machinery, improved transportation, and led to the growth of cities. It was a pivotal moment in shaping the modern world. Punishment was a spectacle of fear. The overseer's whip cracked, tearing flesh, reminding all who watched of their fate. Branding irons burned, shackles bruised. Slaves who dared resist were broken in body but never in spirit. Each scar told a story, not just of pain, but of survival in a system built on cruelty. Yet even in fields of suffering, songs rose. Voices carried across cotton rows, filled with sorrow and faith. Spirituals told of freedom, of rivers, of heaven beyond chains. Songs became secret codes, messages of escape disguised as hymns. Music born of pain became the heartbeat of endurance, the voice of resistance against despair. Some sought freedom in the dead of night. Guided by stars, their feet cut by rough earth, they fled into forests, pursued by dogs and hunters. Every step was a gamble. Capture meant death or worse. But still they ran because the taste of freedom, even for a moment, was worth every risk they faced. The Underground Railroad was not made of tracks but of courage. In candlelit basements and hidden rooms, abolitionists sheltered runaways. Fear was constant, yet hope burned brighter. Every mile north was a step away from chains. Freedom was not given, it was taken. One desperate journey, one brave act at a time. Not all resistance was quiet. Nat Turner rose, leading men in rebellion. Plantations burned, fear swept through the South. His uprising ended in blood, his body broken, but his message lived on. Oppression breeds fire, and fire cannot be silenced. Like Spartacus, Turner became more than a man. He became a symbol of defiance. Faith was the light in the darkness. Enslaved Africans gathered in secret, whispering prayers, singing of Moses and deliverance. Masters used the Bible to chain them, but the enslaved used the same words to dream of freedom. Religion became both chain and key, but in their hands it was a promise of liberation. Across time, two worlds mirrored each other. A Roman slave bent in chains, an American slave picking cotton. Different lands, different masters, the same suffering. History repeats itself with new faces, new names, but always the same question. How far will men go to break others, and how far will others go to endure? Chains were finally broken, but the scars remained. Rome collapsed, its slaves forgot. America abolished slavery, but its shadow lingered for centuries. Freedom did not erase the pain. Broken shackles lay in the dust, but memories lived on, carried in songs, in scars, in the whispered names of ancestors who endured. Today, museums display artifacts of slavery, chains, whips, iron collars. Visitors stand in silence, staring at the weight of history. Rome and America are gone, but their lessons remain. These relics remind us that cruelty has many faces and freedom is never free. The ghosts of slavery still whisper, warning us never to forget.